All right, so here are the notes for 7.3, okay? It's called solving any quadratic equation. Now, if you read the instructions at the top, it says solve each quadratic equation using a calculator if possible. Round answers obtained from your calculator to the nearest thousandth. Okay, that's 3 decimal places. Points will be taken off if you don't do 3 decimal places. If the roots are imaginary, leave the answers in the simplest radical form. Sketch the graph of the quadratic function using only an x scale. Okay, so you're going to try to do it on your calculator if you can, and you're going to round it to the nearest thousandth. And then you can't, for the imaginary solutions, you can't do that on your calculator. You have to use the quadratic formula. So then you're going to put your answers in the simplest radical form. Okay, and then you're sketching the graphs. All right, so let's look at the first one. 2x squared plus 3x equals 5. So we need to set this equal to 0. So you're going to have 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. All right, so now you're going to put this in your calculator. So you're going to go to y equals, and you're going to clear, and you're going to go 2x squared plus 3x minus 5, graph. All right, so the first thing you're looking for is, does it cross the x-axis? And it does in 2 places. It crosses over the x-axis. So that means we have a real solution for this one. You can use your calculator when you have a real solution. Okay, if it's an imaginary solution, if it does not cross the x-axis, you're going to have to use the quadratic formula. So let's look here. We're going to have, I'm going to go on ahead and use second trace. You're going to go to 0, because we're trying to find where it crosses the x-axis, and hit enter. And now you're going to go over, and left bound on this one is going to be the top, this left side point, enter. And then your right bound is going to be underneath it, and you're going to hit enter, and then enter again. So it's negative 2.5. Okay, now then you're going to go back to second trace. You're going to go to 0. You're going to go over here and do the other side. We need this point over here. So the left side of this point is under it, so you're going to hit enter. To the left of it, and then you're going to go to the right of it, right bound. Enter, enter. It's 1. Your x is 1. So your solutions are negative 2.5 and 1. That's your solution. Okay? And now you're going to graph it, and you're going to have, I'm just going to sketch it. So that means I'm just going to sketch my x values. So if we say negative 2.5, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So that means it's going to cross here at 2.5. And then we said 1. So 1, 2, 3. It's going to be here at 1, right? Because we got negative 2.5 and 1. So that's where it's going to cross it. And then looking at it, you can kind of see what happens to my graph. Okay. It's going to look like goes down, then it comes back up and goes like that. I'm just sketching it. Just kind of making it look like what I see on the screen. Okay. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so let's look at number 2. We have, sorry, my pencil was messed up. All right, we got to set this equal to 0, and you want a to be positive. So 3x squared minus 3x plus 7 equals 0. Okay, we're going to put that in your calculator. Y equals, clear, 3x squared minus 3x plus 7. Graph. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, it's way up at the top. And if you want to zoom out, you can always zoom out to see it better. You can go to zoom and hit 3, and then hit enter. It's going to zoom way out. Now you can still see. It still doesn't cross the x-axis. Okay, so zoom. I'm going to go back to standard just so I don't forget to flip back. But we know it doesn't, so we're going to have to use the quadratic formula. So our a is 3, our b is negative 3, and our c is 7. So you're going to have x is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 3 times 7. Oops, sorry, you can't see. Okay, then you're going to have all over 2 times 3. So x is equal to 3 plus or minus, right? You're going to get 9, and then you're going to get 12 times 7, so 80 minus 84. Okay, so 9 minus 84 all over 6. X is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 75 over 6. So look, we do have that negative there, meaning we've got an imaginary solution. You're going to have x is equal to 3 plus or minus. The negative comes out, becomes an I, the square root of 75 over 6. So now let's simplify that radical, and you would have 25 and 3, and then you would have 5 and 5, and those 5's pair up. So now we would rewrite it, and we would have x is equal to 3 plus or minus. 5 comes out front, so you're going to have 5i, the square root of 3 over 6. Okay, so now the 3, the 5, and the 6 don't have anything in common, so you can't reduce it anymore. So that's your answer. So your solution up here would be 3 plus or minus 5i, the square root of 3 over 6. Okay? So easy, right? Now they're just a mixture. So you need to graph it on your calculator and find out if it's a real solution or if it's an imaginary solution. If it's a real solution, you can use your calculator to find your roots and sketch your graph. If it's not, you use your formula, your quadratic formula, and you convert your answer, and it needs to have an I for your imaginary solution. So now, back to my graph, which my calculator is frozen. It's going to look like something like this, right? It was kind of like that. It was way up here at the top, and it did not cross the x-axis. So, let's see, number 3 is the same. I'm just going to touch on number 4 really quick because it says what is the maximum point. It's not asking for you to solve the quadratic equation, okay? It's asking you for the maximum point. So you're going to type in negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 4 in your y equals. So you would have, oh, my thing's frozen. So y equals, clear it, negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 4. Graph. All right, so you can tell it does not cross the x-axis. It would be an imaginary solution if we were solving for the roots. But we're not solving for the roots. We're solving for the maximum point. Okay, so that means we just need to find the peak here. So you can do that on your calculator. Okay, there is still a maximum point. The solution is an imaginary solution. Your roots are imaginary, but your maximum point isn't. So to find your max, you would go to second trace. You would go over here to max at 4. And now you're going to go to the left side of the point and hit enter, left bound. And then you're going to go over the right side of that high point and hit enter. And you're going to get the point. Okay? So if we're going to 3 decimal places, we would have 0.750, comma, negative 2.875. That's your maximum point. Okay, and you write it like a coordinate, your x and your y. Okay, and then you would sketch your graph, and it would just look something like this. Okay. So that's all it's asking. So make sure you're paying attention on your homework. If it's asking you for something, if it says solve, you're looking for the roots. But if it's asking for a maximum, make sure that on your calculator you're using the maximum. Okay, and here when it says x-intercepts, that's the same thing as roots, and it's the same thing as zeros. Okay, so make sure you're recognizing those terms. But that's it. Okay, that's the summary. All right, you can do the assignments now.